All right, welcome. ZASLOW Show 2.0. It is a Wednesday, the 7th of December. Good to have you aboard, however you're listening to us. I love you long time. Whatever podcast platform, it's iTunes or Spotify or Google or iHeart, Amazon. I can't sit here all day and listen for you, all right? We're going to be here forever. But however you're hanging out with us, I appreciate you. Make sure you like, you subscribe, you download, you rate, you comment, you do all that good stuff. It's for the algorithm, all right? I don't know how the algorithm works, but if you do that stuff, the algorithm then likes me and I get all the monies. So make sure you do all that good stuff. Tell your friends about ZASLOW Show 2.0. You know, for you guys who have been listening to me since day number 1, we're in week number 6, I believe it is, of ZASLOW Show 2.0. For those of you guys who have been listening since day number 1, you're my A1 from day 1. I appreciate you, of course, but you'd be stunned at how many people out there still have no idea what we're doing right now, all right? So you got to tell your friends, you got to tell your family, you got to tell your mother I say hello. All right, so I'm not in a good mood. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. This is not a good nude day. Oh, wouldn't it be great if it was a good nude day? Oh my God, DMs are open. Listen, I don't want the hog shots. Don't do that. This is not a good news day. This is a bad mood day. That's what we're talking about right now. That's right. I'm in a bad mood because last night. Here's how bad last night was, and specifically for the Heat. But the Panthers, they're no first prize either. Last night, I got on the big TV in the ZASLOW Mansion family room, I got the Heat. The Heat game started at 7:40. The Panthers started at 8:10. You got the Panthers on the small TV in ZASLOW Mansion family room. And I was flipping back and forth. The Heat, not by a long shot, the Heat did not remain consistently on the big TV in the ZASLOW Mansion family room. I kept switching up both televisions, trying to mix up the juju a little bit, you know, trying to get some type of consistency going. Can I spark a little bit of life into either one of these teams? No, I couldn't do it. The Heat were such a bore last night, and really all throughout the entire game. Although the game started good, they got out to a double-digit lead. Game started just fine. The Heat were such a bore last night, I couldn't keep it on the big TV. I had to then put the Panthers on the big TV, see if I can get something going there. They were no better. First period was okay, I guess. They were no better. I'm switching now the Heat back to the big TV. And then the Panthers back to the big TV. Honest to God, we were, I don't know, it was like mid-fourth quarter. I haven't done this in years. It was like mid-fourth quarter, 7-8 minutes left. You got the Panthers. They're early in the third, down 4-1 at this point. I shut that shit off. That's right. Shut them both off. Shut them both. Did not watch the last 5 minutes of the Heat game. Screw this, man. And the Panther game, because it was early in the third, you know, I headed upstairs to the bedroom, and I was like, all right, what else am I going to watch? I mean, I know there's some Marvel movie on probably. They're always on. But what else am I going to watch? I'll just put on the end of the Panther game. Saw the Panthers score to cut it to 4-2. They wind up losing 5-2. I mean, they pull Bobrovsky. He sucks. They pull Bobrovsky, and within 5 seconds, they give up the empty net with about 3 minutes to go. Didn't even give themselves a chance. So the Panthers, and not a bad road trip, by the way. It was not a bad road trip. But the Panthers come home. You know, you had no Barkov, no Lundell last night. Hopefully Barkov's rejoining the team tomorrow night as they're home against Detroit for one game. Hopefully Barkov rejoins. You got Gudis, he's got concussion. You got Hornquist, he's got concussion. He's on long-term IR. Anthony Duclair is nowhere to be found. Let me know when somebody locates him. This Panther team stinks. You got the murderer fun behind the bench. And because it was at Winnipeg, which was the team that Paul Maurice resigned from like a year ago this month or whatever, some point last season. Who the hell cares? Because you got the murder of fun behind our bench last night. The fans in Winnipeg, I'm sure they were laughing at us. They were laughing their asses off, I'm sure. Look at these guys. President's Trophy last year, and they hire the murder of fun, and somehow that's what's going to catapult to the next level. Those Winnipeg fans, they were probably laughing their ass off at us last night, and we deserved it. So, between the two of us, between the two teams, Heat and Panthers, I was hoping that we were going to start the show today with a double dip. No, got a double dick punch last night. That's what we got. Awful, awful night. So we start the show today. We're in a lousy mood. But I think the mood's going to pick up because here's what we got going on. Coming up on the show today, you may have heard of him. He's got a small little podcast out there. It's growing and growing. He's been in this market for a couple years, trying to make a name for himself. Dan Le Batard. He's going to join us coming up on the show today. He's got another Moss Miami event this Saturday night. I'll see you there. I'm looking forward to that. All right. I got to get on the VIP list. Look, there's so many people going. These events are packed. You can still get your tickets. I got to walk right in. I can't wait on the line. It's too long. All right. But I will see you guys there on Saturday night, Moss Miami. Le Batard will join us coming up. He'll answer some of our questions about how you can get your tickets, that whole deal. And I don't know, we'll talk about whatever's on our mind. I'll certainly ask him about the Dolphins, that's for sure. So, Le Batard is going to join us. Now, you know Impact Wrestling, by the way. It's still real to me. That's the wrestling podcast, ZASLOW Show 2.0. It drops every Saturday. When there's a big show, when there's a big pay-per-view, premium live event, me and my partner, Joey Levine, we normally drop a Sunday episode there as well. Look, I'm working here 7 days a week sometimes. This is how we roll ZASLOW Show 2.0. Anyway, make sure you catch it. It's still real to me. The YouTube channel, youtube.com/ZASLOW Show. But it also comes in right there under the ZASLOW Show 2.0 feed on the podcast, wherever you get your podcast from. So I've been telling you how this Friday and Saturday night, Impact Wrestling is doing their TV tapings, Winter Warfare. It's at the Charles Dodge City Center, right over here in Pembroke Pines, just south of where I live. I'll be there Friday and Saturday night. I've already given away a couple pairs of tickets. I have one more pair of tickets to give away. All right, so you know what? Let's make this easy. You're listening right now, however you're listening, the YouTube channel, or you're listening to the podcast, ZASLOW Show 2.0. You're listening right now. You want a pair of tickets to go to Impact Wrestling this Friday or Saturday. Not both nights. I don't know which night the ticket's for. But you want to go to Impact Wrestling. I'm going to be there Friday. This Friday, Saturday, you and a guest, I'm going to set you up. First person who DMs me. DM stands for direct message. At ZASLOW Show on Twitter. Send me a DM right now. First person who says, yo, ZASLOW, I'm looking for that last pair of tickets for Impact Winter Warfare this weekend. Can you hook me up? And my response is going to be, yes, I can hook you up. So the first person who sends me a DM right now. Now, right now I'm doing the show. So it's kind of like in the future, all right? But the first person who sends me a message right now, direct message, you want that final pair of tickets for Impact Wrestling this Friday, Saturday. Ticketmaster.com, super affordable. You can get your tickets there as well if you don't win. But I got one final pair of tickets I want to set you up with, so hit me up in the DMs. There you go. All right. Coming up on the show today, newest Impact Wrestling star, Jay Vidal, is going to join us. I saw him wrestle a few weeks ago when I was at CCW, Coastal Championship Wrestling. They do their shows first Saturday of every month at Unbranded Brewery. Appreciate my guy Nelio. He runs that joint, and he set us up. We had a great time. That's Gangrel runs the gym there in Pompano. That's right, WWE star. Should be WWE Hall of Famer. Former WWE star Gangrel. He runs the gym there in Pompano. I saw Jay wrestle a few weeks ago there, and he absolutely stood out to me. Like, I only knew a couple of the wrestlers, and it's like, all right, are any of these guys grabbing your eye? He jumped out the ring. He absolutely grabbed my eye. And then like a week later, he was signed to Impact Wrestling. Not surprised. So I'm looking forward to talking to him. Jay Vidal is going to join us later on in the show today. We'll do some wrestling with him. Now, let's get into the meat of this. Let's get into some Heat basketball here. Oh, I'm sorry, we got to do it. And it's not going to be pleasant. Give me a second. I got to take a sip of my vitamin water. Gotta get charged up and ready to go. All right, I think I'm ready. Yeah, because I got a lot on my mind here. So, second night of a back-to-back last night. The Heat get their ass kicked by the Pistons. Really, the entire second half, they got their ass kicked by the Pistons. And the game certainly got out of hand. They ended up losing. What was the final score? They lost by 20. Who the F cares? I told you, I shut it off. I shut it off with about 6 minutes left. I need this shit in my life. I mean, seriously. I'm shutting this off. And 2 nights in a row, the Heat lose to a Memphis team that not only didn't have Ja Morant, but was sitting like 4 starters. And then the next night, they come back home, where they've been good this year. The Heat were 8-4 at home. They'd won 5 in a row. They come back home the next night, and they lose to the second worst team in the Eastern Conference, a previously 19 losses in their first 25 games, Detroit Pistons. Cade Cunningham didn't even play last night. And the Heat are unrecognizable. Unrecognizable. This is the kind of loss that makes you reevaluate everything. Like, this is actually the kind of loss, you know what it reminds me of? This is the kind of loss where in Pat Riley's first year, and it was a game in Philadelphia, and the Heat scored a total of like 66 points. And the next day, he traded everyone. Everyone was traded. And then I think it actually led to the game against the Bulls because they didn't have enough guys to play. They only had 8 guys. It led to the next game against the Bulls, which they actually won. Rex Chapman had 38 points. But they lost that game, and Riley was like, screw this. I'm trading everyone. You're out of here. 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 That's what last night reminded me of. Now, the rules were different back then. The salary cap, you didn't have to match all the salaries, that kind of deal. This is the kind of loss that makes you reevaluate everything. 11-14, we're not talking about start of the season anymore. We're a third of the way through the season. 11-14 is not a small sample size. It does not feel like this team is ever going to get going. It does not feel like they're ever going to get going. How did they win that game in Boston? Seriously. How did they play like that those 2 games in Boston? Because I loved the performance the last Wednesday in Boston a week ago. They lost by 13. They played a great game. They'd have beaten anybody else in the league except for Boston. Jimmy returns on Friday. They win that game. They played terrific. And, I mean, I don't know. I guess I felt for the rope-a-dope. That was the rope-a-dope. I felt for the rope-a-dope. Yeah. You know, Jimmy gets on the plane. I'm coming, Boston. I'm coming. I'm ready. The Heat win the game. And, you know, Jimmy's talking a big talk. We're going to get this thing going back on track. You lose in Memphis, minus all their starters, and then lose to the Detroit Pistons. I felt for the rope-a-dope. That's the rope-a-dope. I felt for it. This team does not look like they are ever going to get going. And that's the type of loss last night that you got to make some serious tough decisions, I think. Losing to Memphis and Detroit back-to-back, this is what they call rock bottom. And I'm not talking about the Rock Dwayne Johnson going in there, raising that people's eyebrow and giving Stone Cold Steve Austin the rock bottom. No, that's the good rock bottom. This is the bad rock bottom. Now, I'm annoyed about Jimmy. I'm annoyed about Jimmy for a couple reasons. I'm annoyed that Jimmy didn't play the second night of a back-to-back because the Heat need all of these games. You know, the Heat aren't sitting 6, 7, 8 games over 500, and they're positioning themselves for the playoffs. They want to make sure everybody's healthy. Right now, the Heat aren't going anywhere. They're going nowhere. Jimmy's got to play. So I'm aggravated about that part of it, but I'm also aggravated because I look like an idiot. Yeah, nobody wants to look like an idiot. And especially when you're sitting behind a microphone, you never want to look like an idiot. And I look like an idiot. Because after Jimmy returns on Friday nights, you know, I got in this whole diatribe. You know, you come back from injury, you don't need ramping up. You don't need to sit out. You don't need to return to conditioning play, load management, blah, 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 blah. You just go out there and you kick ass. And that's what Jimmy did on Friday. And now last night we're sitting out the second night of a back-to-back, a game that the Heat need. You need to beat the shit teams. And you wind up losing both the games. And Jimmy didn't play last night. And I look like an idiot. Jimmy sits out the second night of a back-to-back. And here's my big problem, all right? You want to tell me Jimmy couldn't play 15 minutes last night? Couldn't play 15 minutes last night? They didn't want him to play a whole game. Second night of a back-to-back. He could have gone, like, what if Jimmy, okay, 15 minutes. Oh, ZASLOW, what, are you going to play 7 minutes first half, 7 minutes second half? That doesn't matter. Why can't Jimmy just play 15 minutes in the second half? You don't want him to play the full game. Second night of a back-to-back. He just returned. Why can't he start the second half and play 15 minutes? You don't think that would have helped last night? He can't do that? He has to play 0 minutes? Can't play? This team is not in a position to rest guys. And you know what? And look, Jimmy's not the only one. This happens all across the league. It's an epidemic. It is. It's an epidemic across the NBA where these guys, they don't play the second nights of back-to-backs. You're telling me Jimmy Butler couldn't play 15 minutes last night? Couldn't just give us 15 minutes, just the second half alone, play a second half? Couldn't do that? You know what? I'm going to crack the code for you. You ready? I'm going to crack the code. I'm going to tell you exactly why this doesn't happen. I'm going to tell you exactly why you got guys like Jimmy last night who they can't give you 15 minutes in the second half instead of just sitting out the whole night. I'm going to crack this code for you. You ready? The players don't want to mess with their averages. There you go. They don't want to mess with their averages. Jimmy's not the only one, but I'm using him as an example because I'm super pissed off. Jimmy plays last night, plays 15 minutes in the second half, helps the Heat to a victory against Detroit because they obviously needed him in that second half. Comes out, scores 9-10 points, grabs 5 rebounds, gets you 2 assists. Hey, you look at it, you give that for the second half of the game, that's not bad production. But for the whole game, he gets you 9 points, 5 rebounds, 2-3 assists. Those season averages, they're going down, baby. That's going to hurt the average. Can't have that. You know the NBA player loves his averages. That's why, God forbid, any of these NBA players throw up a half-court shot to try and beat the first quarter, or the second quarter, or the third quarter buzzer. It's a big coincidence. They all take a dribble, and then the horn goes, and then they launch it. Then they put up the shot. Oh, man, I didn't get it off in time. Big coincidence. They don't want to hurt their averages. Jimmy Butler doesn't play the second half. Couldn't give you 15 minutes? I'm telling you, I cracked the code. These guys don't want to mess with their averages. So that's why he couldn't give 15 minutes last night. Impact the game. Jimmy can't impact the game running around there for a few minutes in the second half? Come on. Let me ask someone else. How come hockey players never have rest days? How come? How come hockey players don't do rest days? How come hockey players don't have load management? How come a hockey player comes back from injury? I mean, Aaron Ekblad came back from long-term IR earlier this season. He sit out second night of back-to-back. He sit out a game, if they were playing, 3 games in 5 nights, sit out one of those games. Just came back from injury, was out long-term. How come hockey players never have rest days? Because I'll tell you right now, hockey, so much tougher than basketball. So much harder to play, so much more physical, so much more taxing on your body. How come hockey players never have rest days? How come they don't have load management? Just throwing it out there, man. But the NBA player, I told you, the NBA player, there are 2 things he loves to do more than anything else. Complain and not play. And last night, you can't convince me Jimmy couldn't give them 15 minutes. Couldn't give you 12 minutes in the second half. Give me 6 minutes in the third quarter. Give me 6 minutes in the fourth quarter. Boom. That's it. That couldn't have impacted winning last night. That would have set him back. If we're in a position where Jimmy can't play 12 minutes, he shouldn't be playing. He's not ready to return yet. Pissed off, man. Pissed off. I was listening to NBA radio this morning. Love NBA radio. Starting lineup: Frank Isola, Brian Scalabrine. Scal's out this week, vacation, so Mitch Lawrence is in. I'm listening to Frank Isola and Mitch Lawrence this morning. Caller calls in from Boca. Okay, good. They talk about the Heat. He's pissed. He should be pissed. Caller blaming Eric Spoelstra. First, Eric Spoelstra at the top of the list of the Heat's problems right now. And specifically last night, not having the Heat ready to play Detroit. I understand the Heat fan. You should be angry. I'm angry. Eric Spoelstra, you feel like Eric Spoelstra is the problem with this team? Give me a break. You think Eric Spoelstra didn't have the team ready? I mean, the team actually needs to get ready for Detroit. How about just go out there and be professional? 6-19, the Pistons. They smoke you in the second half. Oh, it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. Team is unrecognizable, and that means it's time for significant change. We're not at the early part of the season anymore. This is not a small sample size. We're a third of the way in. 25 games is not a small sample size. But here's the thing. You ready? Here's the thing. The only way to make a big change, because you're not going to sacrifice the future. You're not going to trade Bam. He's a major part of the future. You're not going to trade Hero. A, you can't trade him right now. B, he's a major part of the future. The only way to make big change on this team is by trading Jimmy Butler. Now, I don't want them to trade Jimmy Butler. But you can get a lot for Jimmy Butler. The only way to make a big change is by trading Jimmy Butler. I'm not for that. But I do think that the Heat are probably saying we may have to make some tough decisions. We gotta decide what we want to do from here. Because you can't just ignore through 25 games, and I know every year in his career, literally every year, Eric Spoelstra coach teams always get better throughout the season. They are always better at the end of the season than they were at the beginning of the season. But based on what we've seen so far, it's very difficult to believe that this Heat team is going to get going. It's never been the Heat's MO to hit the reset button. Trading Jimmy Butler would be hitting the reset button. It's never been their thing. They're never that team that decides to. And I'm not talking about tanking. I'm talking about, all right, we got to blow it up. It's never been their thing. That's never been their MO. That's the way to do it. You trade Jimmy Butler, but that's not the way that they operate. And nor is it the way that I want them to operate. I don't want them to trade Jimmy Butler. It'd be terrible. But if you're going to make some very serious decisions, some very tough decisions, that's one that you could be talking about, because that's how you blow it up. I don't know what other move there is to be made. I think the Heat fans in for a long season, because I don't see that coming. And like I said, it's like, you got to blow it up. This is the type of loss where, you got to reevaluate all of it. And I told you, it reminds me of that game back in 1996. It's different rules back then. You were able to just go all willy-nilly and make these trades. Now, the salaries got to match up and all that stuff. It's like, why are the Heat making a trade? Why are they doing so? You can't just turn the computer assistants off on NBA Live and then you get to go all willy-nilly and make whatever trades you want. That's not real life. I'm very upset. Very upset. So anyway, that's what you got going on right now with your favorite little basketball team. Terrible. Not good. Not good, Bob. All right. And again, that's not a hot take, man. That's not a hot take. That's just reality. Hey, listen, if you're feeling a little bit hot, I'll tell you what to do. What a segue. If you're feeling a little bit warm, you got to go call Doctors on Call 365, South Florida's urgent care that comes to you. My man, Dr. Alon, he's the medical director, board-certified emergency medicine and residency-trained internal medicine doctor. Treat children, adults, the elderly, minor illnesses, minor injuries. If you're saying to yourself, man, I'm not feeling good, I think I need a COVID test, or I think I need a flu test, Dr. Alon and his team at Doctors on Call 365, they come to your home. That's right. You need a blood draw. You need x-rays ordered. He will fill or refill prescriptions for you. Doctors on Call 365.com. 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, coming to your home. 786-577-9302. That's right. Right now it's self-pay, but you got Medicare acceptance on the way, private insurance acceptance down the line. If you're not feeling well, you got to go to the emergency room. The copay you're going to wind up paying there, it's going to be more than Dr. Alon, Doctors on Call 365 coming to your home. So how about just pay for the price of convenience where you don't even have to leave your bedroom? He's coming to your home and he's taking care of you. Doctors on Call 365.com, 786-577-9302.